Hi everyone and welcome to this Fan Art Friday video. In this video I'm going to be working on a drawing of Princess Zelda from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I was lucky enough recently to take a couple of days off and just spend those days playing video games with an awesome friend. And one of the games we played was Breath of the Wild on the Nintendo Switch. I got to play the first few hours and it was such an incredible experience. It's such an awesome game and I highly recommend trying it out if you get a chance. I really wish I could be playing the game right now. And so I wanted to work on another fan art drawing. I worked on Link recently and I wanted to continue with the same anime style drawing, working on a drawing of Princess Zelda. Initially, while I was sketching, I was considering working on a side portrait with her looking into the distance, and then I was going to focus more detail to the scenery around her. But in the end I decided to work on more of an angled view, so you can see both eyes, and I was going to focus more details on them and just really make Zelda's face stand out. After working on the sketch and I was happy with the layout and the comic panel in the background, I started adding the pen outlines, mainly using a Pigma Micron 05. I really love using this one because you can really change the line weight just by changing the angle of the pen tip. So I was adding thicker lines around the outside of her face and to details that I really wanted to make stand out, like her eyes and the eyelashes. And then in areas where I wanted to add finer lines, mainly for details like the hair, and I wanted to keep that texture, I was using a Copic Multiliner SP 0.03mm. Zelda's hair actually ended up taking the most time for the outlines, making sure to keep the lines nice and fine and making sure the hair was flowing in the right direction, especially with those braids. There was actually a lot of hair to add to the drawing. Hopefully it worked out in the end. I tried to make the hair act as a border around the right side of the drawing as well, and just kind of joined on to the comic panel. After working on the outlines, I wanted to work on the colouring using Copic Markers, and I started by working on Zelda's face, specifically her skin tones. I added a base layer of colour with pinkish white, and I added a couple of layers trying to keep the colouring nice and smooth. Over the top of that, I added some warmer tones with a pale heath marker, adding a couple of layers of this as well to areas like the nose and around the mouth and around the eyes. After that, to add more shading to the face, I added layers of pale grape and light grape. Throughout this process, I made sure to leave a really bold white highlight along the left side of the face, really contrasting the shaded area on the right side. I hadn't really tried adding such a bright highlight before, but I really wanted to see what it would look like. To add some even brighter tones to her nose and around her eyes, I used a blush marker. And then I also used this marker to add the base layer of colour to her lips, then also adding some shading to the area with the pale and the light grape markers. Then for the colouring of her eyes, for the blue tones towards the top of the eyes, I used Prussian blue and sky blue. And then for the green tones towards the lower part of the eyes, I used a mixture of duck blue and aqua. After this, to add highlights to the lower part of the eye, I used a white Prismacolor pencil. And then for the rest of the highlights around the face, to the eyes, the nose and the lips, I used a Uni-Ball Signo Broad white ink pen, adding some really white opaque highlights to really make these features stand out. I used the same skin colour process for the colouring of her ear and neck, and then to add extra shading to the area I used the light grape marker, followed by cool grey 3 and 5. Once I was happy with the colouring of that part of the drawing, I then really wanted to work on the colouring of Zelda's hair. I wanted the left side of her hair to be bright and highlighted, much like the left side of her face, and for this I added a base layer of colour with an eggshell marker. I also blended in towards the right side of this area a little bit of buttercup yellow, some streaks of that, and just blended it in. And then towards the right side of her hair, I kind of added a gradient blending from the eggshell over towards the buttercup yellow, and had the buttercup yellow as the base layer of colour towards the right side. Over the top of that, I added some more streaks of a darker colour, that being the honey marker. This marker is really bright and vibrant, and I thought it would work well for the darker shaded side of the hair. Over the top of that again, to add more shape to the hair and to add some individual shadings to some of the locks of hair and the braids, I used the cool grey 3 and 5. And then finally, to add some really bright and shiny areas to the hair, I used the Uni-Ball highlighter pen. And I also used the dark blue marker to add the colouring to the clips in her hair. Moving on to the colouring of her clothing, for the white area of clothing I added shading to that area with the Cool Grey 3 marker. For the yellowy golden areas I used the honey marker, and then for the clothing on her shoulders I used a mixture of the aqua and the dark blue markers, but I felt like they were a bit too green, so I added some sky blue over the top of that. For the final stage of this drawing I wanted to add some colouring to the background within the comic panel, and I wanted the colour of this to really complement the colour of her eyes and her hair clips and her clothing. So I used a pale heath marker for the sky and added some clouds to that area. I added a couple of layers of clouds, and then to add some mountain landscapes I blended in a little bit of a pale grape marker and just kind of added a few layers of hills, just blending between the pale grape and the pale heath marker. Over the top of this I added some particle effects with the Uni-Ball highlighter pen and also the pure pink marker. And after that, this drawing was completed. It was super fun to work on, and I'm really glad that I got a chance to work on some more Zelda fan art. After playing Breath of the Wild, I'm so excited about that game, and I think it's absolutely awesome. I can't wait to try it out again. It's so much fun. If you have any suggestions for future fan art or fantasy art, any suggestions at all, they're really appreciated and it really does help the channel out. If you'd like to watch more videos like this, then make sure you're subscribed, and any likes or shares on this video, they really mean a lot to me. If you want to follow my progress and keep up to date with everything I'm working on, then be sure to check out the links in the description box below to check out my Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. And once again, thank you so much for the support on this channel, and thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I'll see you all soon.